Commerce, of which I'm a board member. And I would say Jonathan almost single-handedly made County Road 111 a safer place to travel. He was relentless. He was like a bulldog. He spoke at the legislature. He had a public meeting at the high school. And because of what Jonathan's done, we now have closures on 111 where people were trying to make left turns, and there was a fatality down at one end of 111, and that's been fixed. There's a traffic light where two family members were killed. That was the Trinka family. It was a tragedy. Jonathan's made sure that a couple of improvements have been made there. The light is longer now. There's a better sight line now, and people looking to the right. So Jonathan's been very involved in the community, and I know that he's one of these inquiring minds, want-to-know guys. And even though he's not involved right now in any land use decisions, he knows his codes. He's been working on understanding what there is to know about Brookhaven town codes and land use. So, because when the town council, their biggest job is land use decisions. Okay, and right now the biggest job is making sure that the town is loaded with Republicans. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that Jonathan gets elected, because, as I said, he's one of the hardest working people I know, and he's one of the most sincere people I know, and that's what you need to represent your district in town hall. So I am throwing my support behind Jonathan, and I'm glad to see we got such a great crowd here today, because it's a cold day, but all the people that have turned out, it's really incredible. So I can see that there's going to be a lot of support.
But most importantly for today, I was a teacher for over 30 years. Woo-hoo! And the young man at my right was one of my students. I don't know how old you are now, but this age, it's a real insight into a person's character. You know, you could tell a lot about what kind of adult a person is going to be when you see what he's like when he's 15 years old. And I can tell you that out of that cynicism and distrust, there are a great many people who are out there who are volunteers. You know, my friend Joanne Long Merrill is the champion volunteer of the world for the Democratic Party, and I know how hard she works at school. I'm here because John is not one of those people who takes people for granted. He's not one of those people who's running for office because he's got a hidden agenda. Because since the time I knew him as a high school student, public service was something that he did from his heart, not because it was a line on a resume. Public service is something that he's done his whole life because of his commitment to the community. He married someone who has that same core value of returning to the community. The same core value of never feeling entitled, always understanding that what we have is very much due because of the luck of the draw. And there, but for the grace of God, go I, when you see someone else who needs help, who needs a leg up. So he and his family and his beautiful children are being brought up with this value of giving back, not feeling like you're entitled to everything, being out there with what you believe and no hidden agendas, always being grateful for those people who have given you an opportunity. That's what I'm supporting today. I'm supporting a person who I believe will give Brookhaven Town the kind of future, the kind of trust that we all want to see in our hometown. And so thank you all for being here today. I'm going to be there to help John win. I hope that all of you will be there alongside of me and his family and all his friends. Thank you very, very much.
And thank you, all of you, for being here today. You know, looking out across this crowd, I see the faces of so many of you who are in one way or another responsible for my being here. First and foremost, my family is here. And I would be remiss if I didn't start this out by acknowledging the love of my life and my best friend, my beautiful wife, Julie. I couldn't do this without you. I love you so much. Our incredibly amazing children, Emma and Zachary, are here today. Take a good look around, you guys. All this is for you. My mother and my stepfather are here. My father, as it turns out, is on a Carnival cruise. Yeah, really. Oh, he's right there.
He's on Skype.
Hi. I told him he ought to bring his own generator. My sisters and my sister-in-law are here. My brother and my soon-to-be brothers-in-law. My friends and co-workers. Some of you who I just met today. Whether I have known you for 30 years or 30 minutes, your presence here is overwhelming for me, and I thank you. So today I am proud to announce my candidacy for Brookhaven Town Council. You know, this is going to be an incredibly important race, in part because we were recently reminded just how consequential town government can really be. Last month, we learned what happens when public officials put patronage and politics ahead of the people that they have sworn an oath to represent. When a storm dumped 3 feet of snow on parts of this town, our leaders were asleep at the wheel. In the absence of Supervisor Romaine, Dan Panico was in charge of this. You know, a lot has been said about how the town council doesn't have control over the highway department, and on a normal day, that would be true. But this was not a normal day. And on this day, Dan Panico had just declared a state of emergency in this town, and his next act was to go to the highway department and tell them that he was taking over. And he even went so far as to forward their phones to town hall. So Dan Panico was in charge, and he completely failed to manage this crisis. Turns out that I know a little bit about crisis management, besides being the father of 2 young children. I have worked all my adult life as an emergency manager for an ambulance service. And early on, one of the most important lessons that I learned is that when you are faced with an emergency, response times count. Response times count, and when this emergency struck, residents all across this town were left stranded in their homes, waiting for help that in many cases never arrived. That's unacceptable. That is unacceptable, and as I have in recent weeks, I continue to call on Supervisor Romaine to order a full investigation to this town's response to that storm and to make the results of that investigation public. To be clear, it's not just about the storm, and that is not the only reason that I'm running. I looked back on the last 10 years worth of town council campaigns, and I couldn't help but notice that nothing has changed. Year after year, council member after council member, problems, and quite frankly, the promises have remained exactly the same. The residents of this town have been patient for long enough. The residents of this town deserve a leader who will do more than promise to solve all their problems and then point fingers when nothing gets done. The residents of this town deserve somebody who will partner with them to find sustainable solutions to our problems so that those problems don't come back. When I am elected, that is what I am going to do. When I'm elected, I will work with the village of Mastic Beach to find solutions to the quality of life problems that have plagued that community for far too long. You know, one of the cardinal responsibilities of government is fairness. And that means not overburdening one community over another with some of the worst problems in our society. It just isn't right. When I am elected, I will work with the Mastic Beach Ambulance to make sure that finally, after 15 years of seeing no results from this town, they will finally have a building that suits their needs, where they don't have to park their ambulances outside in the snow and run extension cords to space heaters to keep the drugs from freezing. You're welcome.